So what is biobanking? Biobanking is actually the process of sample collection, transportation, and keeping these samples for future use. And future use here can be for the purpose of research or for the purpose of diagnosis, future diagnosis, or it can actually be for the purpose of, drug development, even vaccinology. So why do we biobank? We biobank these microorganisms. We biobank, microorganisms here would be, the bacteria, the viruses, the fungi. We can also biobank tissues, from the body. If you go to hospitals, you'd realize doctors, and these are the pathologies, would usually go and take a sample from the human body, either to diagnose a disease, and the commonly ones would be cancer, for example. So they would bank these tissues for the purpose of diagnosis and later treatment, or for the purpose of further usage, teaching, for research. You remember in this world we are doing a lot of research for diagnostic purposes, either to create new methods for diagnosis or for the purpose of creating drugs that would be used for treatment of these patients. So of course then biobanking becomes important because it gives us, a repository, a storage where we can go back, get the microorganisms, get the tissues for the purpose of research, diagnosis, pharmaceuticals purposes, and even development of methods that we would use for diagnosis. We will be saying once a biobank has been accredited by KENAS, we do not need a third party from another developing country or a developed country where our results will be going to, where our researches will be used, or the results of our researches will be used. There will be no need of a multiple recheck. So once KENAS has accredited this, now the regulators can have the hope. Whoever is going to import or export items that are coming out of this research findings, out of this diagnosis, can have what? Can have the trust that it's been done and it's been done well. So we will be reducing some technical barriers to trade that are associated with recertification, retesting, and reinspection, and especially where a biobank is involved. KENAS becomes the first accreditation body in Africa to actually offer this kind of accreditation, and I'm really proud that KENAS has taken the strides. We have taken, we have gathered the courage to actually take up this and become the first African accreditation body to actually offer accreditation to biobanks. So what does it mean to Kenya? What does it mean to Africa? That, whoever does research with us, and it can be an African to African agenda. If we do research within ourselves, then we can trust our results because then we have accredited the biobanks as appropriate. If we are going to do diagnosis, then we are offering diagnosis based on the fact that our people, our biobanks are competent. But then what does it mean to the world apart from Africa? What it means is such that people around the world can actually trust our results. Our results for research, they can trust our results for diagnosis, and they can trust our results when it comes to vaccinology. Now, you remember there's a lot of vaccinology or vaccine development that is happening in this world. And you'd realize most of the time this vaccine development, as much as they're being done by the big pharmacies outside pharmaceutical organizations outside the country, most of the studies are being done back here at home. Now, for them to trust the results that are coming from these research organizations back here at home, back here in Africa, where all this is taking place, of course, that means the biobanks then would need to be accredited.
We are expecting that once KENAS implements the scheme, then they can actually move on to be evaluated for international recognition so that then their results can actually be accepted across borders. And of course, that reduces the technical barriers to trade. The quality infrastructure institutions that we support are meant to enable the regulators' work effectively. And this is by ensuring that we have standards in place and that the conformity assessment activities that are done within the territory are credible and the results can be accepted everywhere across borders. So if there's a result, for example, from a testing lab here, or an inspection body here that has gone through the rigor of accreditation, and that result is meant to cross borders to another territory, there shouldn't be need for that other territory to require for a retest, an inspection, or a certification.
We are really excited that there are going to be amazing impacts, positive impacts with the accreditation of biobanks, because then we can actually expand the space for research. We can actually expand the space for collaboration, for fundraising for the laboratories that, or the biobanks that will have been accredited, because then they can actually have international reference. It's actually a space where they can actually be able to engage on the global scene, and also then be able to enhance their quality and safety and also the space within which they store their material, the biological material, but also to be able to enhance research in the very sensitive areas that we are grappling with as a country and as a continent. For instance, we all are aware of the research that is ongoing around cancer treatment, the research that is going on around other spaces, and not just in human beings, but also plant material and also animal material are stored, and the research is undertaken within this biobanking space. So we are glad and excited that as an accreditation body, we can actually be able to play our critical role in providing assurance that what the biobanks are doing through accreditation is something that can actually be accepted, that it can actually meet international standards. And the reason why we are converging for this conversation, this 4-day conversation, training and workshop, is to be able to explore ways in which we can actually strengthen the quality infrastructure around biobanking. And we as KENAS, which is the sole national accreditation body, plays a critical role in accreditation. And for this particular workshop and this particular standard, KENAS is going to be the very first one on the African continent to actually accredit biobanks. And therefore, we are very excited. We are actually going to do groundbreaking because we are the first one on the continent, and be able to build a framework upon which results, the materials stored, the research around biobanking, and therefore strengthening the space for healthcare, for cancer treatment, among other biological materials that are handled by biobanks, are done properly, proficiently, accountably, and in a manner that is acceptable in the global standards. Thank you. In form of the outcome, what we are looking at the end of this particular workshop is, first of all, to strengthen the capabilities and competence of our assessors, because are trained in other spaces, and as we said, we are the very first ones. So we've brought together trainers who are actually drawn from other countries as well, and we are looking at now a more competent assessor pool. We are also looking forward to our implementers now having the deeper understanding of this particular standard, and therefore be able to implement. And then now in the long run, these particular biobanks are actually able to come to us for purposes of accreditation. So looking into the future, we are foreseeing a scenario where we'll have a number of those bodies or biobanks, which we refer to as conformity assessment bodies in that space, coming across for purposes of accreditation.